of the Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis. Book 4, A Devout Exhortation to Holy Communion. Chapter 10, That the Holy Communion is not lightly to be forborne. The voice of the beloved. Thou oughtest often to have recourse to the fountain of grace and of divine mercy, to the fountain of goodness and all purity, that thou mayest be healed of thy passions and vices, and mayest deserve to be made more strong and watchful against all the temptations and wiles of the devil. The enemy, knowing the very great advantage and remedy which is laid up in the Holy Communion, strives by all means and occasions, as much as he is able, to withdraw and hinder faithful and devout men from it. For when some are disposing themselves to prepare for Holy Communion, they suffer the greater assaults of Satan. This wicked spirit, as it is written in Job, comes amongst the sons of God to trouble them with his wonted malice, or to make them over fearful and perplexed, that so he may lessen their devotion, or by his assaults take away their faith, if haply they may altogether forbear communion, or at least draw near with little fervor. But there is no regard to be had to his wiles and suggestions, be they ever so filthy and abominable, but all his delusions are to be turned back upon his own head. The wretch is to be contemned and scorned, and the Holy Communion is not to be omitted for his assaults and the commotions which he excites. Oftentimes also a man is hindered by too great a solicitude for obtaining devotion, and a certain anxiety about the confession he has to make. Follow herein the counsel of the wise, and put away all anxiety and scruple, for it hinders the grace of God, and destroys devotion of mind. Leave not Holy Communion for any small trouble and vexation, but go promptly to confession, and willingly forgive others their offenses against thee. And if thou hast offended any one, humbly crave pardon, and God will readily forgive thee. What avails it to delay thy confession for a long time, or to put off Holy Communion? Cleanse thyself thoroughly, spit out the venom presently, make haste to take this remedy, and thou shalt find it better for thee than if thou hadst deferred it for a long time. If thou lettest it alone today for this cause, perhaps tomorrow a greater will fall out, and so thou mayest be hindered a long time from communion, and become more unfit. With all possible speed, shake off this heaviness and sloth, for it is to no purpose to continue long in uneasiness, to pass a long time in trouble, and for these daily impediments to absent thyself from the divine mysteries. Yea, it is very hurtful to defer Holy Communion long, for this usually causes great lukewarmness, Alas, some lukewarm and frivolous persons are willing to put off their confession, and desire that their communion should be deferred, lest they should be obliged thereby to keep a stricter watch over themselves. Ah, how little is their love, how weak is their devotion, who so easily put off Holy Communion. How happy is he and acceptable to God, who so lives and keeps his conscience in such purity, as to be ready and well disposed to communicate even daily, if it were permitted, and he might do it without being noticed. If a man abstain now and then out of humility, or by reason of some lawful impediment, he is to be commended for his reverence. But if sloth steal upon him, he must bestir himself, and do what lies in him, and the Lord will assist his desire for the sake of that good intention which he specially regards. And when he is lawfully hindered, he will yet always have a good will and pious intention to communicate, and so he shall not altogether lose the fruit of the sacrament. For every devout man may every day and every hour come to receive Christ spiritually without any prohibition, and with great profit to his soul. And yet on certain days and at the times appointed, he ought with an affectionate reverence to receive sacramentally the body of his Redeemer, and rather to make the praise and honor of God the motive than to seek his own consolation. For he communicates mystically, and is invisibly fed, as often as he devoutly calls to mind the mystery of the Incarnation and Passion of Christ, and is inflamed with the love of him. He who prepares himself only when a festival draws near, or when custom compels him thereunto, will often be unprepared. Blessed is he who offers himself up as a whole burnt offering to the Lord, as often as he celebrates or communicates. Be neither too long nor too hasty in celebrating, but observe the good common way of those with whom thou livest. Thou oughtest not to cause inconvenience or weariness to others, but to keep the common way according to the appointment of superiors, and rather to consult the profit of others than thine own devotion or inclination. And that concludes Chapter 10 of Book 4 of the Imitation of Christ.